Welcome to the DGD Podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds, Kobe Pierce, and special guest Hunter Streets, the one they call the mailman from the UGA Spike Squad. I see some authenticity there on them little spike pads y'all have got, man. Love it. And speak of the damn devil himself, Rob and the gang is back, folks. Rob and the gang is back. That's it. That's all we're doing today, guys. We're done for the show. I'm just messing. I'm messing. Got a lot to talk about, guys. Scavenger Hunt recap, commitment. Colton Heinrich, three-star tight end, commits to the G following that official visit over the weekend. Got some questions that need to be answered, and I figure we'll have a group panel discussion, if you will. And then at the end of the show, we're going to have a huge announcement as we get ready for the kickoff. Less than 100 days now before we see college football. Keep that in mind. A lot to cover, though. But first things first, Hunter Street, welcome to the show, my man. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Always big fan. Been listening. Glad to finally get on.
Absolutely, man. Listen, DGD Pat says Juan is still scared to show that Stetson jersey. Oh, man. Can't wait for that to happen, by the way. But anyways, let's go and do this. So I want to pose this question first because it's still hot, and then we'll touch the recap. I'm gonna let Hunter start off, guys. Over the weekend, there was a lot of people. I think it was Brandon Walker, unnecessary roughness, was talking about UGA Sanford Stadium not being a top 5 environment in the SEC. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I first saw that video, and I was thinking, well, he's right in some regard because I'm sorry, we don't have 100,000 seats, but we got 93,000. And I went back because I was fortunate enough to attend the Notre Dame game and the Arkansas game, probably the two of the loudest football games I've been to. But then when we walked in on November 5th against Tennessee, oh man, it was loud and it was rocking and it was constant for 4 quarters long. And anyone could say that Happy Valley during the whiteout's big, or like Texas A&M, Michigan, because they've got 105,000 seats. We've got 93,000 seats in an open stadium, and we are clocking decibels louder than all of those stadiums, like on a consistent basis. I don't get why anyone's saying that Sanford Stadium's not an environment to come into and be scared to play. We made it tough on them, and that's something that we take pride in, especially as squad. When we get out there and we're screaming on third down and we're making a tough environment for the opposing defense, that's something that we take pride in. And when Kirby said it took us, and when Kirby said after Arkansas last year that we were worth 10 points as a crowd, that made it up to us.
Absolutely. So, Kobe, I want to start with you because I'm gonna work our way back here. So you played under Kirby Smart, but you've been more recent in regards to seeing right on the field from a player's perspective what Sanford Stadium has been like. What were your thoughts? Because I feel like to some degree he's Brandon had a good point. However, I think it's not your Sanford Stadium of old. Right? I think the evolution has taken place, like Hunter just said. What are your thoughts on on that take right there from Brandon over the weekend? What are your thoughts on that? Because I definitely think that it's a top 5 now. Now being the key word.
Yeah, I think the big thing about it is just that, you're playing more and more big games in Sanford Stadium. You're winning more and more big games. We just start talking about, like, you see Clemson when they lost to South Carolina this year snap like almost a 40-game home win streak, and it's really loud in there. And we look at Georgia, especially recently, you got to go all the way back to 2019 against South Carolina to find your last loss at home. The more big games you play, the more the crowd gets into it, the more you win, the more people are willing to show up, be loud, and be loud sustainably. I mean, going into Arkansas weekend, they were a top 10 team. We were a top 10 team. And, the new favorite thing, it seems like, was, Arkansas is going to go in there and they're going to give the Dogs all they want. Like, the Dogs may win, but it's going to be a game back and forth, blow for blow. And then this year with Tennessee, everybody's coming in going, they're the best team in the country. I just don't know if this defense is going to be good enough to slow them down. They may score 40 points in Sanford Stadium. And I just think it's those levels of disrespect that kind of get our fans fired up for those really big games. You're right. Maybe, against Ball State, we won't be rocking quite like, a big game. But at some point, like we're talking about, that's not really on anybody. It's more on the design of the stadium.
Oh, Juan Daniels just showed his face, and he doesn't have a Stetson jersey on. So, Juan, I'm going to pose this question to you, sir. You played back, in the Donnan era and then mid-'90s, right? Have you, as a former player yourself, right? Like, I want to pose the same question as Kobe. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Let me hear your take on that, man.
Well, back during our time, it was not a scary place to play. It was not loud. I mean, it was just, not that place that people are going to be like, oh, it's going to be a crazy, crazy atmosphere. I do remember going to Clemson and it being crazy loud. I remember going to Auburn and it being crazy loud. And I remember going to Tennessee, and I thought that was just the most insane that I've ever been at. Well, listening to a lot of the guys that I played with, when they talked about that Arkansas game, when they talked about that Tennessee game, they said it doesn't even compare to what we actually went through. So now going to Georgia to play, and it didn't even matter if it's a not such a great game. The atmosphere, the environment is unbelievable. It's insane. Tennessee and Arkansas had an opportunity to see that. Of course, we got the Spike Squad that's going out there, just making it crazy in an insane environment. And now, there's something that we talked about 2 years ago. Before, no one wanted to play Alabama. You saw Alabama on your schedule, and you're like, oh, gosh, what a nightmare. Now it's Georgia. No one wants to play Georgia. Also, no one wants to play Georgia at home. So, my response to that guy, bring it. Come on over and see what these other people are experiencing, and then we'll see what you think about our environment.
Because I think for me, I feel like as Georgia fans, we have wholeheartedly bought into what Kirby Smart wanted when he came to Georgia, right? Like what we were doing prior to that, he was honest with us. He was saying what you're doing isn't working, right? Josh Pate said this perfectly Sunday night, right? You look at what Georgia was doing prior to that, right? It was loud, but it wasn't intimidating, right? Like now you look at in just the past year or two, right? The transformation, right, of the whole stadium experience is just something else now, right? Like, people don't really take into context the Arkansas game, right? That's a noon kickoff. Not a lot of people are rough and rowdy at noon, right? Georgia proved everyone wrong. Literally, Holly Rowe was on the sideline saying and basically reporting that it was louder than the whiteout at night. That speaks volumes, at least in my opinion. It has to. But then, I think Hunter brought it perfectly on this. The Tennessee game, it should change everyone's mind about that, right? I don't care what anyone says. You can believe the stadium decibel meter or not. But when you see how impactful that was, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare for Tennessee to be in there, right? As a Georgia fan, I'm expecting this kind of environment when we go to Knoxville this year. You expect that. But is it going to play that level of, distraction and just disruption? I don't know. But as far as the top five, I think as it stands today, Georgia has to be listed in the top five. And if you tell me something like the Swamp or Jordan Hare, I'm not buying that right now, right? Maybe historically, sure, you could talk about that. But other than that, as it stands today, Georgia has to be in the top five. There's no questions asked about that. So I think we're going to put that to bed. I definitely saw that. I felt like we needed to talk about this because there's been a lot of back and forth on both sides for that matter. So we just had to chime in. As Juan says, Utah's in the top five. Trash. Absolutely. JOGG doesn't understand.
Yeah,
she doesn't.
Florida being the number one, Gator garbage is the number one, complete trash. And then Utah's in the top five.
Yeah, 100% on that. Hunter, we know as Georgia fans our hatred for the Gators, but there's also a running thing around here that Utah is trash, and they just got to deal with that. Yeah. So I'm just letting you know now. As we kind of
for Utah, because they won the year. They've got funding from their and we got and allow for we stay the entire. I can hop on that hatred for you.
Hunter, it sounds like you're static or popping. It sounds like some popping. So if you want to check that out, we couldn't hear that 100%. But I would say, I'm looking at it. I'm just saying, guys, Utah's trash, and they got to deal with that. So we're going to leave that discussion in the chat. We're going to put that to bed. With that being said, though, I want to talk about the Scavenger Hunt weekend. Before the Scavenger Hunt weekend even got started, Georgia lands a commitment from the number one punter, Drew Miller. Right, Drew Miller commits to Georgia on Friday, before the even start. Right, before the Scavenger Hunts even starts. Kobe, as a special teamer, sir, how important? People overlook. I feel like people look at the punter commitment and be like, "Oh, that ain't much," but I think it matters. Right, as a special teamer, explain to us why we should take pride in that.
I think the biggest thing is, Brett Thorson. A lot of people have enjoyed him. He got to punt a lot last year, but had some pretty big moments, hit some pretty big punts. He is, I forget, going to be 4 years removed from graduating high school here this upcoming season. So he will be draft eligible, actually, after this upcoming season. And then he also, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, doesn't have the full 4 years of eligibility a typical incoming freshman would have. So I can't remember if he only has one more full season with the Dogs or maybe two, but I know he doesn't have 3 or 4 more kind of. So I think getting this punter, getting the number one guy, offering him a scholarship, having him commit, it kind of sets the precedent going forward of Thorson's our guy now, but this guy's going to be kind of the guy taking over in the next year, maybe 2. And that's important. I mean, you look at his punt, the 75-yard punt that went out at the 1. I mean, that's game-changing for a team that still plays a lot of defense and a lot of field position. Flip the field, and it makes it harder for them to score. Kirby's really big in the analytics. You get the ball between your goal line and the 20, you score less than 10% of the time. I mean, that's an amazing statistic when it comes to being able to pin someone inside the 20-yard line.
Still believe Stetson hates Thorson, by the way. I'm gonna leave that there. I think that's a fair assessment. Listen, you don't think about special teams until it hits you in the wrong way, and then you get pissed off about it. And I think as Georgia fans, we have to understand that not only did you just get the number one overall prospect in the country, but you still got a number one punter. So that's a number one in something, right? And don't take for granted special teams. Like I said, Kobe's this long snapper, so never can take that shit for granted is all I'm going to say. Hold on, though. Juan, I'm going to give you a second to respond to this because Jared OG calling you elite minus. I got to let you respond to this. Defend yourself.
I refuse to go back and forth with trash, so I'll just leave it at that.
Fair enough. Oh, man. So you have Friday, you lead into it, right? Then you've got over the weekend. I think one of the biggest stories that kind of came out, what felt like out of nowhere, was the Saturday morning workout at Jefferson. You got Sammy Brown, Dylan Raiola, Nye Carr. I think Jeremiah Smith was there, but just didn't work out. Ryan Williams, right? All these huge names, elite prospects, descend upon Jefferson and work out in the morning. And I think it caught Georgia Twitter and just went just kind of took everyone for a frenzy. You know what I mean? What were y'all saw? Did y'all see any of the clips or anything like that from the workout itself? Did y'all see any of that? Anyone can talk on that one if y'all want.
I mean, I saw some of the throws he made, but I think it's great. It's one of those things we've talked about. Dylan Raiola is going to be, kind of Jake Fromm, Justin Fields, kind of, guys that were really heavily involved in the recruiting process. You remember Justin and all the guys that he kind of nudged along, and Jake and all the recruitments he was a part of. I definitely feel like that's a big part of, getting Dylan this early along in the process. I mean, you have basically all the official visits all summer that he can now be a part of. You're going to have some visits in the fall, some game day visits. So, that's why kind of like the Manning thing last year for Texas, it's important to get that quarterback that you want early in, and that way you can make good impressions on other guys going down the home stretch of things.
Yeah, and for me, what I was seeing though, and I think what stood out the most about that whole entire workout was the fact that Raiola led that charge, right? Which he comes in, commits Monday or this past Monday, literally a week ago from today, and you already see him just being a relentless recruiter, right? And that's especially coming from the number one prospect. That's if you're a Georgia fan, that's what you're wanting to see. You're expecting it to happen. And then it's just so nice to see the fact that they go out of their way to accommodate, if you will, right? So when you see that, and then obviously with the workout, you're seeing, current commits, practicing and already trying to build that chemistry, right, with the workout. That speaks a lot to me. And Juan, I mean, I don't know if you saw the videos or anything, but there were some nice touch passes, especially if these guys haven't worked out together. I think that's pretty impressive from what I saw. What do you think?
Yeah, I just saw a couple of the videos. He's making a couple of throws here, but just getting that chemistry. He's doing a great job of recruiting, and from what I'm hearing, he's been in KJ Bolden's ear, who is the number one safety right now. So just imagine if Georgia grabs him and also Sammy. I think that's going to be great.
Speaking of Sammy, I think there was some talks that he couldn't make the scavenger hunt due to helping his dad with some yard work. So I think like I said, it speaks volumes to me that you had those guys go out of their way to be like, hey, we're not taking no for an answer. Come ahead of time, come work out, right, and get that face time, if you will. Joe Huff says for 17 to 18-year-old guys to be out at 8 a.m. playing ball when they didn't have to is awesome. I mean, yeah, I think that just shows you why they are, right, the best in the country. You have to have that kind of work ethic and mentality, right? And I think that's what you saw. Wally also asked, any news on Jeremiah Smith? I don't think there's any news there. Obviously, with him being a current commit, I definitely think Georgia made some tremendous moves there. I think you move the needle if you're Georgia, especially setting the bar right on that official visit there. Listen, I don't care what you say, but the Raiola effect is going to help your chances at it. Not saying it will, but it will help if you're able to make that happen. DGD Pat saying, I have checked the archives, and Juan Daniels still has a year of eligibility left. Stone Tablet Archives. Juan, do you have to say anything about that?
Okay, that's fair.
Also, Hunter, so Juan had mentioned to me, who are these guys? I want to say that's the paint line, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Our friends over section 110 line.
I think we're having some technical, some audio issues, Hunter. If you want to try to play around with your audio real fast, we'll keep going. But I don't know what it is. It keeps popping, and we can't really hear you that well. We'll keep that going there. We'll wait for Hunter to get back. But in the meantime, listen. So you talk about the scavenger hunt, saw all the photos and things like that, and then today, you bring in a commitment from another guy, Colton Heinrich, 3-star tight end, commits to Georgia this morning. Wanted to ask y'all guys what, obviously the weekend situation happens. What are y'all's thoughts on that? I think it's not as a flashy as a commitment as you would think, like if you had a KJ Bolden just surprising pop, right? But I do think that commitment is going to go a long way. Kobe, what are your thoughts on that?
We were actually talking about it, a friend of mine last night before he committed, that, when you look at who you had in the tight end room last year, you had, I think we decided 6 scholarship guys. You had Darnell, Brock, Delp, Ryland, Brett. I think there's somebody else too. I'm forgetting. Somebody help. Anyways, there's somebody else in there. But because of how you lost, you're only going to have 4 scholarship guys this year. And normally Georgia's keeping around 6 guys. So I think that, very easily you could see we took 2 tight ends last year. I think you're going to see 2 tight ends this year. And then possibly 2 tight ends next year as well. I know we already have the number 1 tight end for next year's class committed. So, that Art, thank you. You need 6 guys in the room. So I think the fact that you're going to have, possibly 2 of the better tight ends. This guy, he's kind of raw. We talked about that. He's a big frame guy. Definitely going to possibly take over some of that role that like Darnell used, where you're going to turn him into a hand in the ground blocking tight end.
Inline guy, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's exciting. I know this much right now. If Todd Hartley and Kirby Smart give you the all clear to commit to be a tight end at the University of Georgia, you're good in my book, because
you got to trust Hartley.
Right now they've been on fire. I mean, from Trey McKitty on, they have been on fire on picking guys that have NFL caliber talent, developing them, and putting them in the NFL.
The Mountie always gets his man, folks. That's all I'm going to say there. Hunter, welcome back, sir. I think we may have the technical difficulties situated. Hopefully, I'll let you get back on this one specifically.
Y'all got me now?
Clear. Loud and clear.
Must have been these old AirPods. So these guys are the paint line. They are in section 110. We're in section 109. They've been around for probably about 25 plus years, I think. They were started in the 90s, and they're some dogs, man. They get it. They get rowdy just like we do. They're some great guys to be around. And, I mean, look at them right there. Clean, crisp paint, like good buddies over there in section 110.
Right now looking like Juan with Juan's the giant sequoia tree, and you got the young, vibrant paint line right there.
So I have a question for you. Will you run us through what is Friday night into Saturday morning into game day? What does it all look like for the Spike Squad, for the paint squad even? I mean, I feel like those guys, you got to get up pretty early to get that painted. I feel like, y'all are always the first row of student section. Is that reserved for you guys? Or are y'all really the first ones in line? Like, let's get ready to rock.
Let's go.
So we'll give you a rundown from probably the best game that I've ever been to. And Turner's got it going in the chat. Tennessee campout started on Thursday night. So there was rumors back in the day during the Notre Dame game that they camped out early. And I think they started about Friday night, early Saturday morning. But we started camping out. A couple of our boys camped out on Thursday night and camped out throughout the day. We were getting them food. Got some Snelling French toast sticks. Any student listening, they know what the Snelling French toast sticks are. And so we started camping out early for a Tennessee game. And to answer your question, we don't have any reserved row, no special privileges. If we want to get that front row, we're going to get there early. So normally we're 2 hours before gates open, 4 hours before kickoff, where we're getting to the gate. If it's a noon game, we're getting there at 8 a.m. If it's a 7:30 game, we're getting there at 3:30 in the afternoon, normally for like any random game. But for the big games like Tennessee, we've got to be there pretty early. And on top of that, when you bring in SEC Nation and College Game Day to town, we've got to split up the squad. So we go through, and we've got a group at game day who gets to College Game Day probably at about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then we've got a group at SEC Nation that probably gets to SEC Nation about the same time. And they're getting painted up early so they can get on TV and hype up the dogs throughout the day. And then we've got our group at the gate. And so once gates open, it's get the wristbands on, get down the stairs, and get down to the front row. And it's hype from there. We're painting up in the stadium. We're getting our pregame hot dogs, our Chick-fil-A sandwiches, you name it. We are getting hype early, and that Tennessee game that was probably one of the longest days. I got to the gate that morning, 6, 7 o'clock, And I was one of the ones sitting at the gate until gates opened and our groups from College Game Day and SEC Nation came in. And then once they came in, we ran down front row, got painted up, and we're just itching to get on the field.
DGD Pat asked, how many members are there in the Spike Squad?
So this year we had about 50 members. We're losing about 10 to graduation and other endeavors. And so we're looking to keep it around 45, 50 people. We don't really have a set number. It's just when we go through our process of recruitment and interviewing people, we're always trying to find people who love the dogs, can get rowdy, but also like fit in, have a good time with all of us. So we don't have a cap number on it. We're not capped at how many ever scholarships we got. We're just sitting there as if you're rowdy, you get on.
What's the largest size shoulder pads you have? Because I don't know if even the largest shoulder pads y'all can get would fit the Swolders up there. What's the largest size pads y'all have?
We got some double XLs in storage right now that are not painted up that, none of us scrawny guys and girls on Spike Squad can throw those on. They're for the linemen in the trenches. So if anyone ever wants some pads, we got some double XLs.
Show him Juan's pads. Show him Juan's pads real quick.
Oh, you want to see it? We got you beat. Hold on, though. We got you. Give me a second. And here it is.
Double XLs right here.
Yeah. Those are triple X. Those are triple X. I can't even fit through a regular door of those. Yes, sir. Hey, shout out to Andrew and Turner as well. They're up there representing, man. Hunter, it looks like you have a pretty good group, man, that you hang out with.
So I know. So go ahead.
Now we got some dogs. Like, shout out to all of our 50+ members this past year. Like, if it wasn't for Spike Squad, I don't know what I'd be doing in Athens. These guys and girls are the greatest friends, the rowdiest fans you'll ever meet, and they probably are the biggest dog fans that I've ever met.
That's
so
awesome.
I see DGD Pat saying that's it. He's moving to Athens, Spike Squad recruit. Listen, I know y'all have some costumes and things like that. Tell me why DGD Pat would be Saul from Better Call Saul. I could see that. He'd be Breaking Bad.
I mean, yeah, that'd be a good fit. We had they threw out some beanies at a basketball game one time, and they someone was like, "Oh, he's like Skinny Pete or whatever," and I put a beanie on, and they were like, "Looking just like him" or whatever. So that'd be a good fit into our paint. Like, we've got like Batman, Cowboys. I'm the mailman.
I think honestly, Ric Flair is my favorite, just because. Well, I mean, I love some Ric Flair though, but that's just me. Yeah, now y'all over the years though, it's not like someone takes over the new, because I know you do the mailman, right? So like, you're not going to see someone come in and take over the mailman per se. It's always different characters, which I think that adds the mystique and the fun for me. Is just kind of over the years seeing like you have the Joker, you have Ric Flair. It's so fun to keep up with through the years. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, shout out the Joker. The Joker is the only paint that no one else can ever use. He is retired. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. Like, he did it when we went out to Pasadena in 2017, and he made that trip. And him and Davin Bellamy's photo from that game, that's one of the earliest that I can remember watching. I mean, I remember watching it growing up, but he is a staple of Spike Squad.
Yeah,
tell me this. Do you normally have Spike Squad members join as true freshmen, or is it normally a thing that y'all have a lot of like sophomores to upperclassmen that are joining?
Well, our bulk is normally true freshmen. We try to recruit at like orientations and different things like that. But when I came in, I joined as a 4th-year senior. Now I'm going in my 6th year. Shout out Stetson. I am copying him in every way possible. But
Juan, you hear that?
Yeah.
But I joined as a 4th year because I transferred in from a small community college, and my first year in Athens as a Georgia student was the COVID year. And then that next year, our first Natty's the year I joined. And so it don't matter if you're first year going out senior and you want to have a nice little ride into graduation. Like, we have no requirements on year as long as you're a student and you're enrolled in classes.
Look at that. DG Pat shouting out Juan here saying, give me them 3X pads and I'll be Juan the GOAT. I got the age, the haircut, and the frosted beard. Oh no. But
Where
no,
are you originally from, Hunter? Where are you originally from?
So I'm from Hendersonville, North Carolina, a small little town in the mountains, and I'm actually at home right now. I'm not in Athens. I'm spending some time with some family over break a little bit, and been taking a little chill pill from Spike Squad. But I've been doing all the computer stuff with it the last few days, so it never stops.
Sir. What made you a
One
dog
day-
fan? When was it? When did you convert, being from North Carolina?
My dad grew up from Georgia, Army brat, and so he's been a dog fan growing up his entire life. And so I was a dog fan from as little as I can remember. My first jersey was a Shockley jersey back in 05. And it might still fit. I don't know about that, but it might still fit. And I remember watching that game, the 05 championship, and then it was a love that grew harder and harder throughout the years. And I got a tweet somewhere that back in 2018, when I didn't get in Georgia out of high school, that I said goals, transfer to UGA and get on the Spike Squad. And those goals were accomplished. And now we're living it up and hopefully getting that three-peat this year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You'll have to test your dad's. You have to test your dad's knowledge and tell him you did a podcast with Juan Daniels today. See if that has him have a flashback to the 90s.
Yeah,
he'll have to look at an old film reel or something like that.
You got to be careful though. Yeah. Just imagine if the Spike Squad existed back then. It would look like if Juan put the spikes on right now, it look like a damn fossil.
Yeah. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, right?
DGD Pasadena, Tar Heel State represented, absolutely. Y'all already know. But no, in all seriousness, because so I think if I'm not mistaken, you took a new position on the squad this year, didn't you?
Yeah, we just announced our new executive board this year, and I'm one of the co-presidents alongside my other co-president, Austin. Andrew in the chat, he's our new creative director. We've got Haynes as our secretary. Nathaniel is our financial director. Reese is our social events coordinator. And Jake is our equipment manager. So shout out to our new exec this year. We got some big things planned, and this is just a start.
So DGD Pat says, Juan's highlights are chiseled in the walls of Sanford. No film exists.
Hey, what I love about the what you just said is many people just think of it as just a Spike Squad. They're at the game. But now you're talking about presidents and secretaries and just different things. So this is something that you guys take a lot of pride in. And it's not just what we see on game day, but there's obviously a lot of some behind the scenes things that take place, man. So it makes it more special to have you actually come on here and just talk about that. I just think that's fantastic.
Oh, I see some bargaining, guys. I see some bargaining.
I'll say that again, Hunter.
It takes so many logistics going in, like especially those games I was mentioning when we got game day in SEC Nation, and then traveling to Florida every year. And like it takes a whole squad to get like us going, getting our paint on our shoulder pads, making sure everything looks crisp, perfect, and clean for game days. And it's something that it's not just show up an hour before kickoff, throw some paint on, and yell and cheer on the dogs. It's a lifestyle, man.
Yeah. Now, do you guys do a lot of things, or with the paint squad? Do you guys kind of collaborate on things, or?
Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff. I remember my first year we did a thing with I think it was Crystal, where we did the red out for the night game against South Carolina, and we partnered with them and did some photo shoots and things like that. So we've done all kinds of stuff alongside them, alongside other organizations with the university. Like it is so awesome to be able to work with guys like that.
I see some barking in the chat, which kind of leads me to about make me bark right here, guys. Y'all about to make me bark too. Just gonna leave that there. Tried to get Rudes in there, but Rudes ain't here right now, which hurts my heart. It really does. But neither here nor there. It's like Juan was talking about though. I think. Okay, so Turner, what's the longest you've had paint on?
Oh, man, it's probably close to about 18 hours or so, I'd have to think. It's nowhere near our boy Nathaniel, Ric Flair. He had paint on starting at, I think it was 6 a.m. the day of the first national championship in Indianapolis, and he did not take it off until he got back to Athens on Tuesday night.
That's awesome.
So I got a big question. This is going to regard a little bit the paint and maybe paint squad. Because when I always think about our paint squad, I can't help but think about, I'm from South Georgia originally, so anytime I think about that, I always think about the Garnet and Gold boys or whatever they are for Florida State. Like not only painted up, but also covered in glitter. How long would you say it takes to remove all that paint and all the stuff off? Especially after 18 plus hours, 3 days of it being there. Is that quite the scrubbing going on?
I mean, when I first started, I tried so many different remedies for, get a rough edge sponge, get like washcloths, like something to get it in the small of your back, just trying to reach back there and get it. And no matter what, you always wake up on Sunday morning and you look in the mirror and you might have a little bit of paint right here on your elbow or somewhere on your chest or something that you missed, and it won't go away for a while. Like my landlord's going to be mad. My shower's got so much paint on the shower walls.
Magic erasers.
It's going to have to take a lot of scrubbing to get it out.
Magic erasers.
It's worth it. I know it's worth it.
Andrew asked, "Wait, you take your paint off?"
That could be a good thing for initiation. I know hazing's not a thing anymore, but it'd be cool. The new members have to go to a week of class dressed as Spike Squad.
That would be pretty funny. We had a little thing where we were talking about, wearing pads to class. There was one time we did a photo shoot and we were painted up, and a couple of our members were trying to figure out, do I want to skip class? Do I just want to go? So they just threw on a t-shirt after, and they had arms painted and carrying their pads to their biochem, whatever class they went to. And it's just,
what do the professors and stuff? How do they view that? Do they, like, some of them care, some of them don't? Or I didn't know. I mean, like, some people get into it, some people like despise it. What are the overall thoughts on stuff like that? Kobe's shaking his head.
I mean, I've worn pads to class. I've carried them with me when I've got to do something on campus one day, and I don't have time to walk across North Campus to get to my car to go get them. So I'll just carry them around. And we did check out our TikTok at UGA Spike Squad after G-Day. They went into one of the dorms and they did that little trend where you knock on the dorm door and someone comes out and you've got like 4 or 5 Spike Squad guys just sitting there posing for a picture. So you don't want to take it off. If you paint up and you have paint on for just 2 hours, it's kind of pointless to take a shower and get it off. You want to make your time in the paint and pads worth it. So you sometimes chair sit, and I mean, after some games, I'll go and sit on the couch and paint, watch the 3:30 game or the 7 o'clock game before I go and take it off.
So I have another question, and this might be Spike Squad top secret. How do y'all pick who's going to what game or who's going to what event, as either Spike Squad or just, as I'm sure a lot of you have to attend some games as just regular student as well?
So luckily, we haven't had an issue with telling people no. So if you want to paint up and come to a football game, you come. We've got like 50 members. Luckily, we have not had a game with 50 members. It would be cool, but people have other plans, or some people just decide, oh, I don't want to paint for Ball State or UT Martin or UAB. Yeah. And I've painted for every home game that I've been to in Athens the last 2 years. And I've painted for all the playoff games and both Florida games. So this year, I'm going to take a step back a little bit. I'm going to enjoy my time at Florida. I'm enjoying my time at a few of these non-conference noon kickoff games, and I won't be painted at all of them, and let some other people, get a chance front row and everything like that.
So I know we recently did a show talking about the TIAA field, right? The renovations that are planning to take place. And you might be out of college by then, but what are your thoughts on the Florida Gators coming into Athens? I know Juan actually got to play the last time the Gators and the Dogs did a home and home. I'm not going to talk about the scores or anything, but now that the Spike Squads have been around now, yeah, what do you think that's going to be like? Hosting the Gators, if you will, in Athens.
Well, I just know that growing up, I was a proponent of get this game out of Jacksonville. And then I finally went to the game in Jacksonville, and I love it. It needs to stay there. But with the renovations coming up, they do not need to put it in another neutral site. They need to do the home and home, and we need to return the favor from the 90s. And Kirby needs to drop $200 on them, and I cannot wait if that is a game, I will somehow find my way into the student section. I will be sitting with some friends. I will be there. I don't care how much it is.
You need like the military vets get you a veteran card. Why don't Spike Squad initiate veterans cards or alumni cards, something like that?
It'd be sick if we could, but we don't even get tickets guaranteed to us. We're in the same student lottery as everyone else. So this year I only got half a home slate. I did not get 3 games, so I had to find my way to getting student tickets, which round the pond, but everyone knows it goes on.
Yeah. I tell you what, man, you guys need to partner up with Alumni Hall and get you guys some Spike Squad T-shirts and some Spike Squad merchandise, so everybody can go in there and get some of that, because I definitely would rock a Spike Squad shirt for sure.
Juan wants a 3D little spikes on the ends,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think Juan might see it.
Yeah, there's nothing better than seeing you guys on TV getting crazy, getting rowdy, or seeing you guys at a game. It is just, you guys are what college football, I think, is about, especially when you guys go and travel. You guys just go and you just make it happen. And it's just y'all's passion that I sit there and watch that just makes you excited about college football.
Well, and that's what I think is really good about, some people hearing you talk today is nobody hands you a ticket. Nobody hands you a front row seat. No one does any of that for you guys. Like, it is all, motivated by yourselves. It's all, determined on how bad you want to be there, how bad you want to sit front row, and how bad you want to get painted up at 6 a.m. It's kind of like swimmers. Nobody wants to jump in a pool at 5 o'clock in the morning. There aren't many people that want, to get painted up at, sit in line and to get painted up at 6 a.m. when the Dogs are playing UAB at noon and it's going to be a 50-3 blowout. That takes some school pride, takes some pride in our football program. That's what, when Kirby talks about, show up and show out, that's exactly what you guys do. And, it is, like Juan said, it's one of the best parts about our student section.
Well, it's also the willingness to adapt as well, because, the Spike Squad and the paint line and everything have also, worked with, Bulldogs battling breast cancer. And what was the Arkansas State head coach that had his wife, I think, had gotten diagnosed with breast cancer. Like, it was just on the fly type adaptation that I think also kind of shows you, the Spike Squad itself isn't just about Georgia football. It's bigger than that. So it's just all the the whole piecing together, if you will, right? Like, the passion, all these emotions and things like that. I think that's what's kind of stands out to me as well. I mean, and you got the spikes. So I like spikes on my squad, my pads too, but I don't have Juan Daniels pads. I need to get me some. Can I go on eBay, find them maybe? Smithsonian?
No, man.
Do you think the Smithsonian?
Probably Goodwill. Yeah, Smithsonian and Goodwill.
Goodwill? Okay. I'll have to go check. I hope I can find them. I'll do something. But no, so I think, Hunter, when you look at the situation with the Spike Squad and everything, right? Like, I don't think people really take into context just how much, like, logistics you mentioned, but like financials and stuff like that go into it. Like, enough for you to have a secretary and things like that. I wish we had a good secretary, but I'm not gonna go into any detail by chance. Got someone doing nails, if you know what I'm talking about.
She's terrible.
Bold words there. Bold words. David Johnson, go Dogs, sick 'em. Got them barking in here. I ain't even mad. JOWG says she paints her face every day. I wonder where you get the money from. So going to leave that there. So we got a big announcement, right? We've been hyping this up for a little bit. Hunter has joined the show to help us kind of talk about this announcement. I think it's time for to do this right here. Even had some help with the name, if you will. But the announcement will be the Classic City Countdown, folks. May 26th, starting this Friday, running until September 2nd, which is game day. First off, social media. You'll see a countdown post every day. Now, the catch is some days you'll see them on the DGD Podcast social media accounts, and then there will be select days that the Spike Squad will be posting these countdown graphics. But here's the catch. Every day, Apotheos Coffee has sponsored our countdown. Every day, that the DGD podcast you'll see a post. Use code countdown, and you'll get 5% off your order, entire order. Now, also keep in mind, if you go to our website, you can get, they will also still throw in the 20% proceeds to help the Classic City Collective. But this is where it gets fun. On days when the Spike Squad makes their posts, use code DGD and get 30% off of your entire order. And they'll still throw in the 20% proceeds to the collective. And also, that's from Apotheos, but the DGD podcast also wants to help out the Spike Squad. So we've set up on our website, dgdpodcast.com/Spike Squad. Go there and click support the squad. And when you do, shop Alumni Hall. When you do, shop them, and it'll help support the Spike Squad. So what will happen is the DGD podcast will take a percentage of all their sales that you use that link and send it straight to the Spike Squad to help them fund things like equipment, travel, things like that. So the more you use our website and use their link for shopping Alumni Hall, get yourself some gear from Alumni Hall, and also support the Spike Squad via the DGD podcast. So obviously, Hunter, we want to make sure that the Spike Squad is taken care of. It takes a lot of money and logistics. You mentioned that earlier. So get you some coffee, folks. Get you some licensed Nike gear, just like something like this. Support the Spike Squad and be prepared, because starting Friday, folks, 99 days towards Georgia football. I'm excited for it. I think everyone else here is as well. But yeah, I think that's our big announcement there, right? I think it's a pretty big announcement. I'm going to see some big time folks there. So make sure you're following the Spike Squad. Hunter, do you want to let them know how to follow the Spike Squad if they haven't already, if they're Patrick Starr living under a rock?
Yeah, go ahead and you got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We are at UGA Spike Squad on Twitter and Instagram, and the UGA Spike Squad on Facebook, and at UGA Spike Squad on TikTok. Like behind the scenes content, photos from all these games, from all these great photographers out there. Like if you want to see what Spike Squad's all about, follow those pages and stay in touch with us, because we will be always posting some great content. Yes, sir.
Boom. Just like
yes,
that.
Sir.
Just
awesome.
like that.
Thanks, shout out to Adam, Buckler, David Johnson. Thank y'all for hopping on, man. Thank y'all for giving us a listen. It's always great to have people in the brigade.
Absolutely. And listen, at the same time though, right? Like we all have this commonality where we support some dogs from Athens, right? And religiously at that. But at the same time, listen, I think the Classic City Countdown, I think you're going to like what's going to happen. Trust me, I think you will. GRWG saying it's hard doing the finances when there's no damn cash. Can't help you there because you took all the cash embezzlement. Hashtag embezzlement in the chat, folks. It's going to leave that there. But no, nonetheless, remember also, I'm going to pull it back up. Just remember, if you need visual, support the Spike Squad. Like I said, head over to dgdpodcast.com/Spike Squad. All one word, Spike Squad. Check it out. Learn more about the Spike Squad. And also, like I said, shop, using their customized link through Alumni Hall to support them. And like I said, DG Podcast will take a percentage of everything that's sold through that link and send it straight to them. That way they have the opportunity to get the equipment, the paint, all this stuff. Listen, it costs a ton of money, folks. It does, because they're doing it 15 times a year. You know what I mean? So you got to understand that it adds up. So DG Podcast will do our due diligence to try to help and make sure that y'all are taken care of there as well. A lot going on. Any final words, guys?
Hey man, just happy to be on with a Spike Squad member, man. This is fantastic.
Yeah, Hunter, we appreciate
Hunter,
it.
thank you for your time.
Dude, happy to be on with some damn good dogs right here. Like Kobe Juwan, like I wasn't old enough to watch you, Juwan, but maybe I think I followed you on Twitter back in the day, and I recognized your name when I first saw this podcast start up and you get on. So both of y'all, damn good dogs, always repping the G, always repping the red and black. And y'all are just two of the hundreds we've done it for across our span of, cheering on the dogs. And always being there.
Quick,
Yeah.
leave the people at home. Who's your favorite former Georgia Bulldog? Who's your favorite current Georgia Bulldog?
Oh, man. I mean, favorite former Georgia. This is something that we asked in interviews one time, and off the bat, I threw out Jeb Blazevich because my boy is from North Carolina. He was a damn good dog, All-State AFCA, good works team. And then I got lucky enough to finally meet him at Malcolm Mitchell's gala back in February. And he was all about trying on the pads, seeing what was up. So shout out Jeb. Current dog, I mean, how can you pick out of 100 of them? Like, I can't. You can't have favorites.
There's a ton
That's
of
a good answer. Stay neutral for the current guys.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, we'll see if any of them are in my classes. I had class with Trammell, former Georgia Bulldog Brett Seither. I had an ecology class with Cash Jones. So shout out Cash. Like,
the Rainmaker.
It's just cool being a student because when I came in, I was a transfer student. And so I didn't get the whole freshman experience, whatnot. But coming in and, you walk into class and you've got Sydney Kuma from softball, Jenny Bay from women's golf, Trammell and Brett from football. You've got all these dogs who are like repping out there on the field, on the course, you name it. And then they're normal students. It still kind of is like shocks me. It's like, y'all actually went to class?
Yeah. That's awesome.
No, yeah, I was surprised Hunter wasn't going to say Todd Gurley because of the North Carolina connection. Excuse me.
Dude, all the North Carolina dogs, Jamal, Jordan Davis, Gurley, Jeb, you name it. Like, if there's a dog coming out of this state, I am repping them hard.
And I'm pretty sure. Sydney. Oh Lord, Sid, don't blame me for your last name. It used to be Gilliam.
Yeah.
And now she's from Henderson, where you're from, right?
Yeah, Sydney, big fan of Sydney. She's a good friend of ours. Her parents are friends with my parents. Her dad's a insurance agent around here. And I remember when she first signed to go to Georgia, I was like, yo, that's sick, because I had never heard like anyone from my area who went to Georgia, let alone signing to go play sports there. So when Sydney came back to town, they were watching volleyball this fall. And Jake was there, and Jake's wife, and Sydney. Charlie didn't make the trip. Obviously, he's got stuff going on, but it was so awesome to see all them. And shout out Sydney, 828 represent, Georgia Bulldog. Love the 828 dogs.
Charlie was my roommate as a freshman, so we went to their wedding up there. It was a great time. So
that's awesome. Yeah, Jeter Mountain.
Hunter, you mentioned Jamal, man. You mentioned Jamal. I'm not going to do it, but Juan and Kobe know. Dude, I was actually able to go to Jamal's commitment ceremony. Like, I worked like 10 minutes from the school, so I was able to go there. Yeah. That was a good feel to kind of watch one of those things happen live, if you will, because the fact that he spurned UNC for that was just nice. Oh, it was fun. But anyways. I think that's good for the day. I think we're gonna wrap it up on that note, right? Talking about some DGDs and stuff like that. Did you guys freeze? No. I think it's your Wi-Fi in Utah because it's trash.
Trash tall. That's it is. Trash tall.
You'll learn. But anyways, with that being said, like I said, make sure to stay on the radar, right? Keep your eyes posted. UGA Spike Squad, DGD Podcast. Going to go back and forth, and you'll understand what we're talking about starting this Friday. Remember, this Friday up until game day, you will see that. And obviously, looking forward to it. I know I love me some Apotheos coffee. Listen, I think y'all probably need it starting at 6 a.m. like that. I would be dead if I didn't have my Apotheos coffee. Kobe, I think you've had your coffee. Like, we some coffee drinking folks over here. So shout out, thanks Apotheos for hosting this event, the countdown coming up. Hunter, thanks again, man, for coming back or for coming on, I should say. I had Turner on last year for some reason. I thought, my bad. But thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you. Seeing them spikes in action, man, is always fun to see. Looking forward to seeing y'all on TV again soon because it's coming. Just like Georgia's chances of a three-peat, we're coming. Just going to leave it there. With that being said, have a great rest of your weekend, or actually a great Monday. Excuse me. I'm already ready for the weekend, boys and girls. I'm already ready. Through Kobe back. That's how
First day
far
back
ahead
work
I
in
am.
9 days. You can't be telling me tomorrow's the weekend, dog. I'll see you.
Yeah.
With that being said, tune in Wednesday, normal time, noon Eastern. We're going to out of here, folks. Have a good one. Go Dogs. See y'all.
Go Spike Squad. Go Dogs.